G'day, ladies and gentlemen, and all those in between. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Mind, where as a Chapter 1, Season 1 veteran, I'm going to be bringing you guys the latest and greatest tips, tricks, strategies, and more to winning not only more games, but more crowns in Fortnite Chapter 7. So guys, as always, if you're keen here to see if we'll be able to send it back for the win, make sure you guys do hit that like button and you hit that subscribe button. Right, we will be landing over at the painted palms. This is going to be the Sus Studios, sort of Hollywood. I guess you could say it's the Fortnite's version of Hollywood, which is definitely a sort of mid-tier, I guess, POI. It's not really named, however, it does have quite a lot of loot, and it is going to be somewhat centrally located as well. So this will be a decent place to drop if you guys are, looking for something that's a little bit off the beaten track. But not too far that it becomes a bit of an issue. Alright, so of course we will have some shots over to yonder over here. We've got our shockwaves as well. I could try and go for this kill, however, he does have the high ground and he is clearly fighting someone else with high ground. So you guys do want to be mindful of this when you're going for other players in the spirit of a third party, because you want to go for the player who has the more high ground. Alright, and then that way, once that player goes down, you'll actually have you'll be less likely to die, right? Because if we kill the guy here on the low ground, and then we've got someone up high, maybe up here or on the cliff face, for example, where they were getting attacked from, who's to say that once you kill the guy on the low ground, the guy up here, he now is completely able to just, beam you from that positional advantage. So try to be mindful of that. It is definitely something to try and get in the habit of. But whatever the case here, that is one of our most favoured sort of rules of thumbs. Now, we are approaching, of course, back over to Sus Studios. We have a cheeky little emote there by Cannonball, but it's just not going to be enough. And in terms of shotguns, guys, we will want to make a bit of a point on it. The Twin Hammer is still, in my opinion, the best shotgun in the game right now. Very, very strong, very, very forgiving in terms of its magazine, but also its fire rate. It feels quite different, at least to a few other auto shotters that I have used in the past, but it's definitely going to be one that feels quite satisfying. Alright, so again, we have a third party here, one player with the low ground and one with the high. We're going to go for the high ground. And now that we've got the high ground out of the way, we reload, and we're going to make our way to cover, isolating the low ground target, and we finish them off, alright? And we basically want to repeat that for the rest of the game. Alright, so we will go and try and grab this slurp truck as well, which does have close proximity, to the Sus Studios, so it's definitely going to be a location that, might prove worthwhile should you guys choose to land. All things considered, though, I do want to do a video next week, where we'll sort of cover some more secret loot spots, right? So guys, if you were keen to see a bunch of videos next week covering all of the hidden loot spots and more, and we'll definitely try and get into the drop strategies as well with that, make sure you guys do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Alright, help us reach that goal. We're trying to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of next year. Alright, that is our goal. We're going to do it. We're halfway there. We started at the start of the year, so a massive shout out and thank you to all of you guys who have joined us on this journey. It's been pretty fun, it definitely has. It's been a lot of learning lessons and curves for sure, but whatever the case, we'll make our way over to Sandy Strip now, another very centrally located POI. One that is very, very fun to play with. And I think this is the interesting thing, right, is when you have these types of POIs, which have, for example, a lot of glass. So it's actually quite different to play around than just a regular POI. Alright, and so for that reason, I quite enjoy it. Wow, he did manage to shockwave out of there. I'm not too sure. Okay, he did actually manage to go for quite a far ways away here. We should be able to catch up to him. It's actually quite incredible. His persistence here. There is some slurp barrels inside, and typically I wouldn't chase like this, except for the fact that we do have quite a lot of shockwaves here. I think we've got more than him. Unbelievable. I do want to reload here real quick. How many shockwaves does this guy have? It's actually quite insane. I'm sure that's the last one. I'm absolutely certain it is. He's got more up there. Right up top there. He's not going to make it. Yeah, he grabbed those shockwaves. Well played to him. You know what? We're going to actually let that go because that's a fair enough sort of skirmish. I really hope we don't come against that player late game. Of course, guys, actually do stay tuned to the end of the episode because I got a feeling we're not going to see the last of him. And I feel like he's going to be a bit of a thorn in our backside there. But whatever the case, let us go get some more ammunition. In terms of what we could have done better, you know, this is something you really want to ask yourself at the end of every sort of fight or skirmish. Is sort of like, what did I do wrong? But also, what did I do right? You know, I feel like a lot of players will either focus on one or the other. But focusing on both is going to be key as well. So for me right here, it was, I definitely over-chased, over-followed. When I did get close to him, or at least in the shooting range, I never actually followed up with an assault rifle shot. So that was definitely something that I could have done a bit better, was to continuously lay down a lot of heat there. In terms of just general, you know, hits there. So we didn't do that. I could have improved there by just trying to shoot at him more, I guess, whenever I did get close. Outside of that, I would say we do have someone actually across the road here. I just want to reload. Do have some grenades as well. I probably could have used the grenades up on the bottom there when he was hiding upstairs. But we'll go inside here. I want to go and smoke this player out. Does drop us the crown, of course. Now, sometimes, guys, when you are in these types of situations where you're in a close range, you know, area, and you do get a player who gets a very solid shot on you, you know, it might be a little bit nerve-wracking. You know, this can be something that I know a lot of players, and myself included, have definitely had to come to learn is, you know, to sort of just bite that proverbial bullet and really ignore that sense of fear that you might get. You know, and that's okay if you need to do that. And it's also okay if it doesn't come as naturally as you'd like it to. You know, it's definitely something that can take a little bit of practice. But at the end of the day, as you can see, sometimes the braver you are in a fight, the more, or the less that you care about the outcome, sometimes you can notice this sort of inverse effect where you actually perform better when you don't really care about winning. Alright, so we do have, of course, quite a few shots over here. I make sure that our shotgun as well as our assault rifle are reloaded. Alright, I would like a med kit, however, so I want to go and stop by a mending machine at some point. That is what we like to call it on this channel. Alright, we do, of course, don't need much more ammunition thanks to that crown player we did just kill, but guys, we will rotate over now and we've got plenty of shockwaves. So I think that is another issue that a lot of people have been bringing up. And it's a point of discussion as well, right? Now, I saw one of you guys mention down there in the comment section, Butter, what is your thoughts in regards to the shockwaves? I believe Nick A30 was talking about he's got a shockwave here. Is that the guy from before? I actually think it might be. Did just dodge that sniper shot there. I do not want to fight that with low health. Alright, we'll take it. I'm assuming he might actually try and shockwave over here if it is that player from before. If so, that would be great. Probably won't be the worst thing in the world. I will be quite confident though if he does decide to make an appearance. However, hearing that he's actually in a fight right now makes me want to go and try and take him off guard. You know, if you guys are going up against a decent player or just really any player, sometimes it can be quite helpful to just take advantage of them during these fights. Alright, now we can go over. We'll grab their loot. I'm pretty sure one of those players was going to be the one that we tried to kill earlier, but we couldn't quite get a hold on them. You know, and so again, guys, always trying to be mindful of when these fights are happening. And instead of just running directly out there, I want to grab this car because we are going to use it as a little bit of cover. Alright, so that is going to be key for us here. We're going to get some shockwaves, which is nice. Another crown should we choose. And you know what? I reckon what we'll do is I'm going to leave that there. Is there a better rarity shotgun? It looks like they've actually reduced the rarity on the, or at least it's very uncommon, right, to find the twin hammer, which is quite disappointing because I actually really like the twin hammer. I think the twin hammer is a fantastic shotgun to have. But yeah, it just doesn't seem as common. And that is to sort of go off on the point we mentioned before, right? Is that we had one of you guys in the comment section talking about Nick830 asking to vault the shockwaves. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Should the shockwaves be vaulted? Let us try and stamp this out once and for all. But personally, I do think that they need to reduce the general sort of amount of shockwaves on the map. I mean, as you guys saw there, we had a lot of shockwaves, over a stack and a half at the start, and we still couldn't even catch up to that, guys. So it was quite insane. And we do, of course, have the mending machine right over here. Jump on and around, and we'll go and grab some heals. So, of course, guys, gold will be resetting every match. And also, the bus driver should be back. I did do a little bit of a warm-up game before, but unfortunately, it did seem to actually disappear again this game. So I did write it on a surfboard. So if anyone does know why that is the case, please do let me know down below in the comments. I want to go back to our car here, and we'll go and rotate around. Now, I'm trying to make a decision of, do I keep the porta bunkers, or do I grab these 4 shockwaves that are at this POI? You know, shockwaves are very, very important, especially if everyone has a lot of shockwaves. So I think understanding, you know, this season, is double mobility the strat, or is, you know, single mobility, single heal, single cover also a worthy contender there. So let me know down below in the comment section what you guys are running, and of course, make sure you guys do help us reach that goal. Hit that like button, and you hit that subscribe button. Alright, we are, of course, coming up and around here of the Decker Hotel. Old mate on top of the hill there. I do not want to boost, although I would really love to, because we'd want to conserve this fuel. Oh, there's a fuel station right here. It's just going to be, you know what, I'll take the car instead. That is 100% fine with me. I want to check our 6 though, because there was someone up there. Alright, we do have a med machine over here as well. I want to just use this car as cover as we do peek out here. And now with that zone, we are going to force out to the eastern side of this zone. So he did jump into the car. I want to try and bait him out. Okay, he has actually left. Back into the car now. We're going to just get a little bit of distance from old mate. Still, we have the guy behind us there who did just jump out. There he goes. I would like to find this guy, though, that we did get quite low. Probably would have really enjoyed to shotgun him there, but of course, we only have a grey variant for the twin mag, which, look, it's still quite good, this twin shotgun. It is still quite decent. It's just not one that I feel I would all too comfortable with having late game. So we're going to try and find a better rarity. Alright, speak of the devil, and it shall appear. Alright, we do, of course, reload whilst we have that break. I'm looking for another vehicle, although, guys, you will all notice all too well this season, vehicles are very, very hard to come by. So do bear that in mind, you know, if you guys are looking for something like that to get around, it might be a little bit more difficult than it was in past seasons. So, unfortunate happening there. We are going to quickly heal up here. Oh, and he's got the over... Okay, you know what? Let us just shockwave over here. Try and come around over on into this house. I really do not like this POI. I've never been here before, so this is definitely a first for me in terms of this layout. We are going to try and play it as carefully as possible. We're not going to be as... Oh, there he is. I can see him through the wall there. We could probably shockwave him actually out to the right. Oh. The game froze there for a little moment. That was definitely quite disorientating. I wasn't too sure who was going to come out on top there. We do have a med kit over here, at least the machine. Let us go and just quickly hide behind this bush, maybe use this as a little bit of cover. And there, guys, was a brilliant example, right, of one way to counter these players who have these staircases on you. You know, is to, if you guys are hiding there, and, like if, for example, like here, right? Right now he can't actually hit us, but as soon as we jump up, we can shoot him. So it's sort of like getting into an area where you can jump up and then shoot. And it can really take players by surprise very quickly, especially if you guys are quite quick on the trigger there. So we will rotate on out here. Again, we are now approaching the top 5. So at this stage of the game, you guys want to be a little bit more wary about the players you'll be going up against. You know, you're going to notice a lot of these players are going to be rats. A lot of them are going to be pros. A lot of them are going to be sweaty. And some of them very rarely are going to be quite easy to kill. So try to bear that in mind, that it's probably going to be one of the more hardest sections of the map, or of the game to face. Well played to him for dodging over to the side there. I'm going to try and do the same similar thing. I'm going to wait for our stamina to get back up before I make this next leap. I'm going to just slide, and we're going to try and conserve as much stamina as possible here. Right, trying these bunny hops, right, trying to just absolutely crouch, slide, jump, etc. And we're going to make our way over now. We do have, of course, the golf cart, which can be quite helpful, especially if you're in our position right here in terms of being on the outskirts zone. This is a death trap. I do not want to go up top of that. But we are going to just make our way over here. It might be a little bit slower and definitely doesn't have as much power. And I do not want to be traveling in this for long, considering it has very little protection. Alright, yes, it has the roof, but you are very easily able to be shot out here. I did just hear someone jump up there, so we do have the zone moving over to the left now. I'm going to try and mark out an area there of where we need to go, just in advance, and I'm going to now check that high ground. Alright, waiting to see if old mate is going to peek. I feel like we should just get a move on though. And look, if he wants to go for us, that's fine. We will try and just hop out quite quickly. Alright, there he goes. A little bit down on our overshield, but nothing too crazy. Some more shockwaves here, however. And we'll try and make our way over now. Dodging some of these sniper shots. We take a pause behind cover whilst we wait for the stamina to regen. And we'll come back around here. Alright. Do have a player here. He might actually be on top. I'm going to crouch up. Make the door entrance so he doesn't think to look. You know, and sometimes you can do mind games like that, guys, where you open a door but instead you go somewhere else. And this can be a great way to disorientate players. Alright, I would like to get a little bit of shield here. Release health. It's not looking great. Will not lie. Especially with the old mate on the roof there. He is going to be watching this area, especially considering I did just open that door, but you know what? Let's go for a very high of a shockwave. Unfortunate. It happens. Guys, if you did enjoy that episode, make sure you do hit that like button. You hit that subscribe button, and as always, take care. Garnier.